Hey, what's up, everybody? So coming here this morning with another What's Next. This is on former two-division world champion Carl Frampton of Ireland. Frampton returned to action on August 15th on an ESPN Plus card where he competed in the main event and dominated replacement opponent Darren Trainer, scoring a 7th or 8th round TKO. He landed a nice body shot in that fight to get the win. And, that was his second fight at 130, and now he's looking to keep it going, and we pretty much already know what's next for Carl Frampton. This fight, the fight with Trainer, was a prelude to a proposed showdown with Jamel Herring for the WBO title at 130 pounds, super featherweight. So now that's barring that Herring wins his next fight on September 5th. Herring's taking on veteran Jonathan Akendo. So as long as Herring gets through that fight, they're talking this fight's going to happen before the end of the year between Frampton and Herring. So good matchup right there, Frampton, first off, congrats on the win. No real surprise he beat some nobody in Darren Trainer. I've never even heard of that guy. He was a nobody, and he was a replacement opponent. Going into what's next for him is, against Jamel Herring. I think they're looking at this fight as a lot more even than I think it is. I think Jamel Herring, given his style, being a southpaw, his size, I think he's got the skill and the size to completely dominate Frampton if they fight next. But Frampton has surprised me before. It's almost like for the lesser fights, he doesn't get as up for those fights as he does for the bigger fights. But when was the last time he had a big fight? That's a good question. Well, I can answer that. That was pretty much against Josh Warrington back in 2018 when he challenged for the IBF title in a fight that everybody thought he was going to win, and he completely got outworked. And he fought hard, but he lost a clean decision to Josh Warrington at featherweight. Prior to that, he'd been in the ring with Nonito Donaire in April of 18 and got a clean decision against Donaire. So that shows you that, just a couple years ago, he was competing on a high level against good competition. And then as we know, in 2016 and 17, 6 months apart from each other, he split 2 fights with Leo Santa Cruz, in those two by majority and majority decisions. He won the first one, lost the second one. Very close fights. But, I like to base what these guys, how good they are based on their last 3 years. I think that's a fair assessment of a fighter. So I usually go off the last 3 years, and Santa Cruz was 3.5 years ago. Over 3.5 years ago. So, and Nonito Donaire, his last big win was over 2 years ago. So, almost 2.5 now. So does Frampton, and the bigger question for me is, can Frampton compete at 130? He wasn't a big guy for 126. He was a good solid sized fighter for 122. But 126, he wasn't a big guy. And never really took over that division. So to move up to 130, I commend him. He's going for a championship in the 3rd weight class. I'm not saying he can't win. I think maybe the speed advantage goes to him. But I think the skill, I think the boxing ability, the fact that Herring's a southpaw, I think that's going to be a good matchup right there between those two. And I think Herring, even though he's not a big power puncher, I think he's definitely got the power edge and he's got the size edge. So, who's going to win? That's the big question. Well, I think it's going to be a good fight. If I had to pick right now, I would pick Jamel Herring. But that's not to say I don't think Carl Frampton stands a chance. But I do believe that's the matchup for Carl Frampton next. I believe it's going to take place before the end of the year, if not the very beginning of 2021. I would wager, though, probably December of this year, and should be good. So, all right, guys, that's the What's Next on former two-division world champ Carl Frampton. Hope you enjoyed it. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.